SCOM 345, Liberty University, Deborah Peel. Why are Native Americans referred to as the forgotten minority? The answer is very easy according to blogger Thomas F. King. The answer is because they are the forgotten minority. Representing less than 1% of the population, it's easy to see how their numbers would get lost in the shuffle with the other minorities. The purposes of this speech is not to minimize any activity on behalf of other minorities. It's simply to bring to light the plight of the Native American or Indian people. When African Americans are in the news for skirmishes with police, very rarely are Native Americans mentioned. Did you know that more Native Americans are killed by police than any other minority? This is a statistic that is very alarming, and it's insulting to the Native American people. Historically, the United States has tried to minimize the plight of the American people from day one, from the early settlers even to now. It is politically incorrect to talk about Native Americans as it relates to sports teams and other issues. Yes, it's true that there are modern tribes now, and they've adjusted thanks large in part to the Native American Indian Bureau. But at times, the U.S. government has placed and pacified Native Americans, but they have not advanced their case forward, such as with the eastern parts of the state where they remain on reservations. Yet a large majority of the Indian population does not live near a reservation and has nothing to do with the reservations. How many Native Americans do you personally know? Chances are, if you're not a Native American, you don't know any Native Americans that you can name off the top of your head. That is how small the Native American population is. How far have we progressed since the days of the Indian Removal Act? You may recall that President Andrew Jackson drew up a resolution on May the 28th, 1830, authorizing the president to remove the Native Americans from their land because it was more valuable to the United States than it was to the Native Americans, or so they saw it. So they moved these Indians from unsettled territories west of the Mississippi in exchange for Indian lands. Not much is talked about the Trail of Tears these days, but did you know that over 4,000 Native American Cherokee Indians lost their lives due to this horrific act? President Barack Obama attempted to write this by drawing up a resolution called the I'm Sorry Act, only he failed to implement it into law. And the reason why is he didn't know how to come about saying I'm sorry without giving a legal right to the Indians to sue for the acts that had been perpetrated upon them. Much like the slaves from Africa want an apology for the way that they have been treated, the Native Americans in some regards have been treated equally as bad. When Barack Obama signed this Native American Act, he failed to implement it for one main reason, because it was an election year and he was afraid that it would show weakness on his part. So the apology that almost happened never did happen. There's much talk today about Native Americans and different types of minorities. But it remains that the Native Americans still are not receiving the respect that they deserve. How many sports teams are there in America that have Native American as their mascots? This is an insult to Native American people. Would you consider putting a slave from Africa as the mascot for a sports team? Of course you wouldn't. It would be an egregious thing. It would be an egregious act to do. That's the same way that the Native Americans feel like it continues to perpetrate Native Americans as barbaric and savages. I'd like to bring to light another Native American that you may have heard about, Pocahontas. Did you know that Pocahontas was not even her real name? Her name was actually Micaiah, and Micaiah was born in about 1595, and she was the daughter of an Indian chief, actually from the Tidewater area in Virginia. But what makes this story very interesting and not plausible is John Smith, who came to America around that area in 1607, was from England. And in a letter that he wrote to the Queen of England, he talked about Pocahontas, which also means spoiled brat. So that was not even her real name. Her real name was Macoa. And so he wrote to the Queen of England in jest, because everybody knew that John Smith had a massive ego. So he wrote and said to the Queen that she threw her body across him whenever he was attempting to be executed by the Native Americans, by the Powhatan tribe, which we all know is not true, because at that time Pocahontas would have only been 10 years old. So what started out as a joke has manifested itself into continue to this day perpetrating as something for Native Americans when it's actually not true. So what images do you think of when you think of Native Americans? Do you think of dark skin, brown eyes, or do you think of them as playing a TV role, or do you think of them, or you don't think of them at all? What if I told you that I'm Native American? Even though I have blonde hair and bright eyes, I am a Native American. My father is a full-blooded Native American who was one of the founding fathers of the Indian Association in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And he is a full-blooded Tuscarora. But in Native American culture, you are what your mother is. And my mother is half Scott-Irish and half Lumbee Indian. So therefore, I am a member of the Lumbee tribe out of Lumberton, North Carolina. Some of the stereotypes that we have to fight against are all Native Americans are alcoholics. This statistic is very alarming because when the government took the Indians to the Trail of Tears, they supplied them with alcohol to pacify them on the reservations. And this misconception has continued until this day. But according to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, more white people are specifically alcoholics than Native Americans. Another misconception is that Native Americans are lazy. Yet 70% of Native Americans graduate from high school and another 25% go on to colleges. And they major in things like science and math, so they're highly educated people. Another misconception is that all Native Americans live on the reservation. This too is not factual. The vast majority of Native Americans do not live on reservations. Another thing is that we receive special benefits to go to school. I can tell you as a Native American student, I do not receive special treatment to go to Liberty University. So this too is another stereotype. Another misconception is that all Native Americans overreact when it comes to having sports teams as their mascots. It is offensive for Native Americans to have sports teams that represent a savage and barbaric time. Lastly, one of the main things I wanted to talk to you about is a Native American tribe called the Lumbee Indians, based in eastern North Carolina. This is a tribe of about 55,000 Indians, and they have not received federal recognition. They have state recognition since their inception, but not federal recognition. The federal recognition would bring a lot of federal dollars to that community, not for anything glamorous, but also to support the children in that area, to give them a better opportunity to break some of these stereotypes and to have an education and a purpose for Native American heritage. Being fully recognized is a goal. It has almost happened many times within my lifetime. The last time it got all the way through the Senate, and Jesse Helms did a filibuster to stop that Native American culture from happening. So today, the purpose of my speech has not been to disregard any other minority. It has been simply to tell you and to share with you the rights of the Native American Indians, and to ask if any of you in there are related to the Senate or have the opportunity to write your local congressman or your local senators, please vote yes for Native American heritage as it relates to the federal recognition of the Lumbee tribe. Again, today, my speech has not been to offend any other minority. It's been to bring to forefront the Native American rights and their lack of visibility within the United States of America. Thank you.